Hello, folks. I'm going to talk you through all of what computer science can offer you if you choose to do it as an option for next year. It's really important you try and take as much information as this from you as possible, and I'll do my very best to explain everything that you'll be covering so it's nice and straightforward for your tutors in tutor time. So, why should you bother doing computer science? If you've got any interest in problem solving, in programming, figuring out how computers work, figuring out how we use computers in society and some of the pitfalls and the issues that might come by, and you enjoy mathematics, you enjoy physics, you enjoy DT and these problem solving subjects, it might be something for you to go for. So, what do we do? If that looks a little bit scary on the right hand side, that's okay. You'll get given lots and lots of time to go through, and I'll explain to you coding in general and why we use it in society and how we use it for GCSE and A level and beyond. By the end of year 9, you will be proficient in programming in a language called Python. At that point, once we get our computing knowledge up to scratch with programming, we can move into some little bits of theory where we look at the CPU, which is the computer's processor. We look at memory and how a computer uses it. We look at storage and networking and different bits of logic. The whole point is to get you ready for, if you choose this and you want to do it for GCSE, is to get you ready for the GCSE in we start at kind of February half term onwards in year 9. It's not all just about getting you ready for the GCSE, though. There's other aspects to this as well that are really interesting in computer science. And sometimes we don't have all the curriculum time in lesson to do it, but I try and get some in as well. So the robot on the left-hand side is called Obot. We can get him to do a bit of singing, a bit of karaoke, and it's up to you guys to code that to happen. Some of you will recognize what the microbit is. There's about a quarter of you that won't have done this by the time you're picking options. So if you want to do something called some physical computing, where you get to use the microbit and essentially solve some problems. So I've had year 9 in the past reading light levels around the school, and you get to tell teachers off if they're using too much electricity. Because as we know, and I'm sure your parents have told you, energy is very, very expensive at the minute. And then the last thing down the bottom is where I kind of pull in a little bit from my background before teaching. So I did games design while I was at university, and making games was a normal part for me at university. So I spend maybe a half term teaching you guys how to use something called Blender, where I'll show you how to make some game assets for video games, and then you can take them away and you can import them in your own time and take it further if you want to. It's not something, this kind of thing, we wouldn't do in the GCSE or A level, maybe a little bit A level way in the future, but it's the kind of thing you can do as a hobby. And if you carry it through, it'll be extremely useful if you want to go into university as well, or into college and do these kinds of courses. For the GCSE, it's covered in exams. There will be 2 papers, 50% of your final grade. The first one, you can see the topics on the board. I'm not going to explain in depth what they are because we haven't got time. You can ask me those questions and you'll learn all about it in year 9. But essentially, paper 1 is the inner workings of the computer, how it works, why it works. We'll look at networking, different rules of networking, keeping yourself safe with network security, looking at different pieces of software and how they benefit the system and why they benefit the system. And we'll look at the impact of using technology all over the globe. Paper 2 is much more programming based. So if you enjoy the coding side of it, this is where it's assessed. So there's no actual exam with how you code. This is kind of it. So you'll look at different algorithms and how they work and why they work. We'll look at logic. We'll look at coding in really in depth. So it's your job to make sure you can code to make sure your problems are robust. So if someone tries to hack them or tries to influence them, they can't do that. And finally, where can this kind of take you? If any of those industries you can see are interesting, some of them I threw in there that people may not always think about. The games industry and film industry and software development are normally where people go, and cybersecurity, that kind of thing. However, you may not have thought about something like agriculture or engineering or military intelligence. All of these need problem solvers, and we haven't got enough of them. So if any of this has been interesting to you for computer science, it might be for you. If you're a problem solver, you like doing little puzzles, you've got an interest in code, you've got an interest in figuring out how and why computers work, this might be a subject for you. Any issues, speak to your tutors. If they can't answer your question, come and find me, or a tutors can direct questions to me, no problem. I do my best to answer them.